Welcome to the WWH show. This is a show that asks important, significant questions, the why, the what, and the how questions that may help you get empowered and be successful in your jobs, in your business, and so on and so forth. Today we have a topic to talk about: why using technology to drive business success. And I'm so much happy that in our studio we have Eddie Turner. He is a change agent who has worked for several of the world's most admired companies. Eddie is committed to flawless execution and driving business value. Eddie is also a graduate of Northwestern University, and he speaks on the topic of leadership. He is also a member of National Speakers Association. Eddie, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know that you're busy. You came from Texas, but you carved some time for us to talk about the importance of technology in driving business. So why should we adopt latest technologies to drive our business? Our audience, some of them are professionals, some of them are business owners, some of them are community leaders. So how can they use, why they should use latest technologies to advance what they do?
Well, Assegid, I think that everyone, whether large or small, needs to adopt technology. Now, in the 2015, at this part of the century, we would think that everybody's using technology, but that's just not always the case. I think that I like to refer to it as technology as a great disinter. It disintermediates, it disrupts industries. And I think that large and small, every type of organization needs to look at how they can do things differently than what they were doing just yesterday.
So especially in the United States and in the 21st century, doing business in a traditional way without adopting technologies is really a disadvantage to any organization and to any individual. Would you give us some of the reasons why the old school way, the traditional way of doing business without adopting technology doesn't work anymore?
Absolutely. I think I'll give you a couple.
All right.
Let's just start very simply with the fact that all of us now have been deputized as journalists.
Exactly.
Because of blogs.
Yes.
At one time, you had to get the permission of an editor to write an article, and you would submit your article and hoping that it was approved. Now you don't have to do that anymore. All of us have the ability to go out to our favorite tool, write our articles, post them, and we are now unofficial journalists. And our blogs can be picked up and be read all over the world. And that's just one example. I'd say blogging. Think about social media, how it allows us all to brand ourselves. We can all have our own television station via YouTube and other types of services like that. Branding ourselves through social media, communicating with audiences, and we are in control. Then you have other options, such as even when it came to publishing books. We had to get a book publisher to work with us. Well, now today we can self-publish. But think about the biggest thing that's been transformational. In the United States and across the globe, a simple cab ride is no longer just a simple cab ride. Someone took a cab ride and thought about how can you perfect this experience. Now, the unfortunate part is it wasn't the cab companies that thought about that. It was someone else who thought about, wouldn't it be nice if we could transform a ride, a shared ride? And now, what about delivery services of food, meals? Well, we know that there's a leading company, Uber and others, that are doing that, and they digitized it to where people, everyday consumers, have the power in their hands via a mobile device. And it seems like they are just spreading across the globe like fire. It's just at a rocket pace unlike anything we've ever seen before. So something as common as a cab ride to something that can be far more intricate in the world of business, it's showing that small and large technology interrupts and transforms.
So technology is one of the competitive advantage for individuals and organizations. For example, if someone is in the business of, for example, hospitality, if some companies, competitors are also in that industry, if they use latest technologies, digitize themselves, if some of them, if they're not digitizing, if they're not using latest technologies to drive business, which means they're going to go bankrupt and they will be out of business. So the consequences are very serious. It's not just about using technologies so that it feels good or it makes it faster and so on. It's beyond that. It has become now life and death, success or failure.
Absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned the hotel. I'm here in town. I'm at a very nice hotel, and unfortunately, being a nice hotel just isn't enough anymore. People want the technology that comes with it. So they want the ability to use their smartwatch to check in, to open their door, and not to have the traditional room key. They want the ability to check in, book their reservation through the smartphone app, and to do other things that customize that experience upon entry when you walk in, when you get to the front desk. So yes, absolutely. In every industry that you can think of, there are ways to look at how can I, as a business owner, transform the customer experience using the greatest technology.
Why is that very important considering globalization? Because yes, we need to adopt technology at local level, but now the world has become very small, like a village. And it's very important for businesses to consider the advantage of globalization. We have the internet. People could be able to use virtual technologies to tap into globalization. So why should they do that? And would you please tell us the importance of having these virtual technologies to tap into globalization? Having offices around the world, you want to bring your team together, you want to work with people from diverse cultures and so on and so forth. Talk about how technology could help organizations and individuals to tap into the globalization, which is, I think, is a good thing for people to tap into a larger and wider market.
There's a couple of ways that takes place. I typically like to run away from acronyms, but I'm going to share one with you. IoT.
IoT.
IoT, that stands for the Internet of Things. That's something newly being introduced to the modern vernacular, to the daily conversation. And that basically means this: everywhere you and I go, where our audience goes, we want internet access.
Exactly. I cannot live without internet.
You and I, if you and I left our wallet at home, we may keep going on our car ride.
Yeah.
And maybe borrow a couple dollars from someone when we get to our destination.
Yeah.
But if you and I leave our smartphone, we're turning around. We're going back.
Oh, yeah. I did it so many times.
But here's the reason why. Even now with our smartphone, we can pay for our purchases. We can use the new mobile applications from Apple and from Google to be able to pay for purchases, right?
Yep.
So that's just one thing. I have a dear friend of mine. He just purchased a new vehicle. And in this vehicle, he has a technology that he normally would not have purchased. It came with it with the package, so he has it. Well, he's a consultant. He's on the road, and he was afraid that he and his wife had to take a trip to something that was very important for her business, and so he went along. And he's thinking, I'm going to miss my customer engagement or have to reschedule it. Well, what happened was, while she was driving, his new car has internet built in.
Wow.
Not as a separate service or not as a hotspot, they've built it into the vehicle. So he was able to conduct a full 1 hour virtual workshop that was highly engaging, extremely collaborative in the car.
Now the world has changed.
The clients didn't know that he was in the car. It was amazing that he was able to get that done. So it's just another example that we are all plugged in at all times, and we want that. And some of these things, just a year or two ago, were thought to be luxuries. Only something that the esteemed folks could have who are at a different pay scale than maybe you or I.
Exactly.
But this car was just a normal, everyday Buick. So he was able to take advantage of that. So it just goes to show that it doesn't necessarily have to be the high end, but in every aspect of our life, and at every level of the consumer experience, people are demanding this access. Something else has changed.
Yeah.
When you and I go home, our thermostats. Well, the big thing now is who wants to walk over to the thermostat and turn the dial? We want to be able to control the thermostat from our smartphone.
Mm-hmm.
We want to be able to, on the way home, in fact, have it set to cool down. And if we are coming home early, we want to change it.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, across the globe, these changes are happening. Now, the other aspect that you asked about there is this ability to connect. We are all interconnected. It's no longer about Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere. You don't have to worry about the other side.
Yeah, you cannot become an island by yourself. You have to engage with people around the world.
Absolutely. As the old saying goes, no man is an island.
Yeah.
Well, the same is true of corporations. No corporation is an island, no matter how large or small your business. So, to that end, are there technologies that exist for our small business owners, for our large corporations, to be able to connect with other businesses, to connect with their teams that are spread across the globe? And the answer to that is yes. There are several technologies that corporations can take advantage of. And I'll share one story with you. I am a consultant who offers my services to corporations of different sizes. And I received a call for a project about a month ago. And one of the things they wanted to do was interview me over the phone, which is
just checking you out and see whether you are the right fit.
Yes, they read my information online and thought I'd be a good fit, so we had a phone conversation. And then they said, well, we need you to meet with the officers. So at the highest level of the
decision makers, okay.
Yes, the officers, the decision makers for the organization. Typically that meant I would be flown in. But no, this international organization has standardized on something called Skype. Now,
everybody have access to Skype.
You think about that.
It's easy to use.
Every consumer has it.
Exactly.
And to think that a multi-billion-dollar international firm has standardized on Skype is the way to have these interviews with external clients, with external consultants, is amazing. Well, what's the point? The point is, it's technology that is in the hands of each of us. It's technology that everyone can use, and it saves tremendous dollars in terms of the investment that corporations have to make to make it available to their employees, but it saves time. And that's the intangible, right?
Yep.
How much time was saved by everyone by not having to travel? And so I thought it was a really good example of how even large corporations are using something that we call the consumerization of IT, taking something large, putting it in the hands of everyone.
So let's talk about, because some of our audience, they may think that, okay, these are for corporations. So let's talk about what are some of the critical technologies that small businesses and also individuals should use to tap into the market, compete, and be successful. I know that earlier you mentioned about, for example, using our cell phones. Mm-hmm. I know right now I prefer for me to download the app. For example, I go to Starbucks. I don't want to really give my card, my password. I have the app. I just scan it. That's it. And also I check my bank statement online from my cell phone. I don't want to really log always to the computer. I don't want to go there physically. Would you give us some of the technologies that individuals may use?
Well, it's like the old saying goes, there's an app for that.
Yeah.
There's an app for everything that we want to do. I think perhaps two of my favorite apps that I would say would be number one, the one I do everything in, is something called Evernote. Now, Evernote, what's so beautiful about Evernote is it resides on my iPhone, resides on my iWatch, and I can use it and access it on any computer. So it's on my Mac as well. I have the desktop client, but if I go to a client, they have Windows, and I need to log on for some reason and get access. So it sits in the cloud, but it synchronizes to all of my devices. A very similar tool that Windows users may like is something called OneNote. So here's the idea. rather than always having a bunch of different documents that we have written up, different notepads, and now I need the information, I don't know where it's at. Put everything in Evernote, put everything in OneNote, and you always have it at your fingertips. I do that with notes, I do that with documents, I do that with PDFs, I do it with photos, images. Everything that I need goes into Evernote, and I classify everything in different notebooks and then break down articles inside of that. Now here's the real power. It's one thing to have a nice drawer with different cabinets in it, and then to go inside and you have your folders where everything is stored. But how often have you or I needed something and didn't know which one of those drawers, which one of those folders it was in? Evernote has one of the most powerful search tools I've seen. It will search keywords, it will search text.
And find the file that you're looking for.
And even if it was an image, if I had a t-shirt on and the t-shirt said Apple, it will not just bring back the documents that said Apple.
The picture too,
but it's
very powerful.
It's powerful enough to know to bring back that image.
Wow.
So that's why that's one of my favorites. So you have Evernote from a productivity standpoint. This is one of the most powerful apps. So a small business owner, a person who works at a large corporation, they can benefit from that. And one last note on Evernote. The other power is if I have these notebooks and perhaps you and I are working on a project together, you and I and your entire team can collaborate and put all of our notes into the same place. And now we can share those documents rather than emailing large attachments around the world. And so,
it's similar to Google Drive too. Google Drive too also helps you to collaborate online, update files, share files, and so on as a team. So we have so many options out there for us to use because these days we are flying, we are always driving, we are always busy. So we have to find a way to make sure that we take notes and stream that to all of our devices, streamline to all of our devices, and make sure also share those information to our team members. Do you have any more technologies that you want to share or apps that you use to our audience?
Well, there's two. I'll share one more to start. So I think about the fact that I'm here in town for a leadership conference. And at this conference, one of the things I just did before our filming is I participated in a session, and I decided that for the benefit of our team members back home who couldn't make it in town for the conference, that I would use a tool called Periscope. It's the hottest thing in social media. So Periscope is an app, and when you download it, it allows you to become your own broadcast station.
Wow.
So how many parents have wished that they could be at the soccer game for their child or the performance at the school recital, and you couldn't be there? Well, what we do typically is we will have somebody videotape it for us, we'll watch it later. But what Periscope does is it puts you right there live, real time. So you don't have to worry about a still image of a photo. You don't have to worry about a video that you watch later. You are there. And so I stream that, and it's amazing because you get to see how many people are joining you real time. And they get to show you whether they like what you're broadcasting or not, and they can comment on it.
The comments, yeah.
So Periscope is another very cool option that I like.
Would you tell us a little bit about how you do it, what kind of application or what kind of devices you need to do that?
Periscope is an app that you can download from the
on your cell
Store
phone
or the Google Store.
Okay.
So it's across those two platforms. There may be one of those platforms for it as well, but you can download it, and it turns your smartphone into a broadcast station.
Okay.
It's very simple. You literally press the screen and it starts recording, and you can put a title on it if you'd like. You can be more specific, but the nice thing is it also ties into your Twitter feed. So when I am broadcasting, it automatically posts and notifies all my Twitter followers that this video is available to watch for 24 hours. That video stays live on Twitter, but in terms of the broadcast through Periscope, it notifies anyone who's following you on the app, and they all see it real time.
That's powerful.
So yeah, it's a very cool tool. And the other thing that's so nice about being able to broadcast live is it's not just for the consumer who wants to capture an event or two.
You could also be able to save it and put it on your YouTube channel also later.
You can repurpose it and put it on your YouTube channel. But think about not just being a consumer. Think about the small business professional who does not have access to a full-fledged studio to get their message out. Well, they could actually start to use their subject matter expertise and start to have people tune in to listen to them once a week or once a month, whatever frequency they want, about a specific subject. Now they have taken their expertise and started to reach an entirely new audience just with the power of this one app, just with the power of the smartphone that they already have in their hands.
That's really powerful. So your advice is for people to really find ways and also attend trainings or talk to some experts like yourself and learn about the available technologies to adopt them and use them for them to thrive in their business. But let's talk about some of the mistakes that business owners or professionals or community leaders are making about technology. Think about it. It's not only about the lack of knowledge, about attitude too. People think negatively about technology. So would you tell us some of the failures, some of the mistakes that business people are making because they're not, I mean, they have reasons why they're not adopting latest technology. So, or they have misconceptions or mismanagement or missteps in terms of using technologies. Would you please share us? I know you have clients. I know that you have some stories. Would you please tell us some of the, I mean, we want to learn some lessons from the mistakes of others, from the failures of others. So would you please share us?
Well, there's two things that come to mind. Number one, I saw a sign the other day. Someone said the most dangerous phrase in the English language is, that's just the way we've always done it. And I think that really captures the heart of it. I think the other one is, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I think those two mindsets that sometimes people have keep people from wanting to make changes. Fear of the unknown or complacency. It's working, why change it? We've always done it this way. What really needs to happen is to learn to think out of the box. And a lot of times business owners are afraid of that. And what we see happening in the workplace is we see millennials coming in with fresh ideas, a different thought process. And they're asking questions because all they've ever known is technology.
Yes.
Whereas in the other cases, some of the old people like you and me.
Yeah, we know about dial-up, we know,
right?
Yeah.
So they always are thinking about the technology solution. Why are we doing this manually? They don't even know what paper and pencil is.
Exactly.
Right? So their whole life has been spent being digitized. And so the ideal is that small businesses, large businesses alike, need to think about what technology can show up tomorrow and put me out of business. Things may be perfectly fine today, but don't let the fear of the unknown hold you back.
Yeah, definitely. There are many businesses who were pushed out of business because they were not thinking ahead of time. Those companies who didn't adopt, for example, the com era, I mean the internet era, you know, in the early 2000, they went out of business because some of their competitors, they went ahead, they made their products and services available online, and they took advantage of that, and the other businesses, they couldn't be able to compete with them because those businesses were ahead of the curve. So today, it may be fine. 20 years from now, 10 years from now, maybe even 5 years from now, there are technologies that may give a competitive advantage to my competitors. If I'm not adapting, if I'm not moving fast, what's going to happen is maybe 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I may be out of business.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And you may have heard of a company called Kodak.
Yes, it's a good example.
Think about who owns the patent for digital photography and had it for years. Well, Kodak had it, didn't use it, didn't see the value in it. Other people did. And so now, to this day, unfortunately, they were forced into a bankruptcy. What's the most valuable thing they have as an asset? It's not all their camera equipment. It's not all the other things they've done. It's their patent portfolio, and digital photography. That one patent alone is one of the most valuable things they have.
Yeah, there are many other businesses who went out of business because they were not adaptive. They don't change. They, as you said, you know, always we do things the way they have been. They don't want to come up with new ideas, innovative ideas, and that always costs them their business, their future, and so on. So let's talk about the solution part. How can individuals and businesses quickly adopt technologies? What's the best way to become a pro technology person in business?
I think to become a pro technology person, you have to become a technology adopter. And to become an adopter of something, you have to be convinced of its value. Technology at one time was a nice to have, quote unquote. Okay? It's no longer a nice to have.
It's a must
a
have.
must.
Yeah.
You must have technology. And so I think once individuals become convinced of its value, then they become convinced of the need to adopt it. And once you adopt it, then you need to think about the proper ways of utilizing it. It's one thing to have something, it's another to know how to use it.
Yeah, you may have it and you may use 10%. You may not use it even 50%.
Absolutely. And I originally had a technology background, and that was one of the things I worked hard on. I identified very early that in many cases, be it something as simple as Microsoft Word, probably 80 or 90% of people only use 10% of its value.
Exactly.
They have no idea what the other features are. So I would say, I'm not a proponent of saying just adopt technology to adopt it, but adopt it and use it effectively to drive an impact.
So the question to many people is they have scarce resources, they don't have infinite finance and also time constraints. So what are some of the parameters, the indicators that may help them make decisions like, okay, I need this business, they are very critical, I have to adapt them, I have to invest on them, my time, my resources. So do you have any suggestions on how people can quickly adopt technologies?
Well, I think there are two things. I think everything is perhaps a very individualized circumstance. So what would work for one person wouldn't necessarily work for someone else.
Yep.
But I would think that a couple basics apply to anyone, right? So if someone goes down to, for example, their local Apple store and they have an Apple computer, they can take free classes and not have to pay anything, right? That's one of the nice things about Apple is they offer those different courses. There's other courses I think that they offer that are $99 for an entire year. So that's something that's pretty much within the reach of many budgets. There's also local libraries that offer many free courses and a lot of how-to workshops. Then there's perhaps some things in the local communities that people can take advantage of. I happen to be a member of the Association for Talent Development, and we call it ATD for short. And ATD has chapters all around the country, in fact, all around the world. It's an international organization. And so there are many different learning opportunities that we sponsor, and in many cases they are computer related, but in other cases they're just related to maybe talent and learning. But the point is there's some free opportunities for people to learn technology, free opportunities to grow and develop. And then there's that one powerful tool, the internet. There's nothing we can't learn from either Google, the world's largest search engine, or YouTube, the second largest search engine owned by the largest.
Exactly. And also making research, for example. Yes, they may have their own strategy, they may have their own plans. Sometimes watch your competitors, what kind of technologies are they using, and making research also to tap into some of the technologies that are not yet adopted by their competitors. So yes, they have to have the right mindset. As you say, they have to find ways to upgrade their knowledge by attending some free courses or pay reasonable amount of fee and attend conferences. Take also a little bit step. If it's a huge organization, let's say mid-level or large organizations, why don't you have even an ad hoc committee or task force where that always think about what kind of technologies that organization should adopt, even test it, test drive it and see whether that technology at small scale, whether it works, and then if it works, scale it up and so on. So there are some investments they should do if they want to be pro technologies, and those steps are very critical to businesses to drive their business and achieve success.
Yes, so that recommendation that I made was more so for the consumer with a limited budget, or perhaps a small business with a limited budget.
Yes.
For a larger organization, of course, I'd say call in an expert, get a consultant who can look at your situation
Great.
and uniquely give you advice about what you need.
Like a person, you work, what kind of companies do you serve? What kind of consulting work do you do?
So I am an executive coach, a facilitator, and I am a professional speaker. But my background before this was that I was an IT technology professional.
Like myself, I'm an IT guy, yeah.
So the interesting thing is for me, my technology still forms the bedrock of who I am. So I'm always looking for a technology solution to everything. So it surfaces in my work as a facilitator. I run executive meetings that are global, and I use technology to reach the globe. There's a couple really unique tools I use that have benefited a couple of major Fortune 500 corporations. Then it surfaces in my coaching. I use technology in my coaching. And then, of course, when it comes to speaking, there's a lot of different tools that we use in technology that surface in that. So when I go to organizations, if I've been called in, interestingly, this particular project I have coming up, it does kind of pull on my technology background a little bit. But when I go in, I do an assessment, right? I do a needs analysis, and we look at what is the right solution for that client. And it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, right? But in many cases, there are ways to automate. There are ways to do things better, faster, cheaper, and technology has to be a part of that discussion.
So I think it's a huge advantage for organizations that tap into people like yourself, because they don't need really to wait until they discover that this technology should have been used to drive success. If they tap into a person like you, because you have been always looking for technologies, researching, case studying, and you know what's best for business. So it's a wise decision to make, to invite someone, third party from outside, and get assessment and then get advices and tips and recommendations.
I think so. And I think sometimes consultants have a different, are viewed differently in organizations, because sometimes they think of a consultant as somebody who just wants to spend our money.
Yeah.
And that's not the case in every case.
I
think there are a lot of good, fair guys and women out there who are working in this field, like yourself and myself, that are very honest with our customers. And I think the reason to bring in consultants is you want someone that has a diverse viewpoint. When you've seen different organizations, different structures, you've been in different sectors of business, you have a unique insight that someone who's only seen one sector just does not have. You have exposure, you have a different thought process, and I think a different vision. And one of the things that I speak about as a leader, a leadership speaker, is this whole idea about vision, this ability to see beyond what's really right in front of us. And that's important. And I think that's one of the values that a really good consultant can bring to an organization.
Let's talk about how organizations could be able to create an environment that favors, for example, for people to adopt, to use, and even collaborate. So let's talk about how to create the environment, because some environments or some organizational cultures, they may not favor technology adaptation. They may always think that, they are old school, we want to do things the way they have been. They don't want to change. So the corporate culture should also change for that organization to incentivize, to encourage people to use technology or adopt technology. So what kind of requirements do you think organizations should put in place so that their people could be able to use technology and also collaborate using virtual technologies?
It's interesting you would ask me that. You don't know this, but just last night I got the final from my publisher. I'm working on a book. And
wow. I can't
months.
wait to read it. All right.
It is actually using the words that you just said in the title.
Interesting.
So it's all about a facilitated approach to collaboration.
Okay.
So I think it has to be systemic in the organization. I think it has to be cultural. So if that is the case, then an organization is primed, it is positioned to drive it throughout the organization and change the mindset of everyone. But that has to be implemented in a certain way. And so the title of my book is Facilitated Collaboration, Leadership That Changes Everything. Wow. And in the book, I talk about the things that I do for organizations and how I've seen how it really changes everything. And it's leadership. And it's two types of leadership, right? It's the aspect of having a vision, and then there's the aspect of being able to influence. Because you have to influence not just the decision makers, But you also
Everybody
have
throughout
to-
the organization.
throughout the organization to bring them along with you. And I think those are two critical components.
I like that because I'm passionate about vision, because I always encourage leaders, as a trainer, consultant, and coach. I always tell them that people always look for something. For example, if I ask people to give me their time, limited time, their resources, because there are so many things they could do with their time, with their resources. If I ask them for a commitment, there should be a very big reason for them to come along and support that vision. And the vision should be very strong, that they could be able to see it at the end of the tunnel, believe that at the end of the day it benefits them, the organization, and even the coming generation. So the role of the leader is to show that light at the end of the tunnel for people to stick, because vision is a glue. So the role of leaders for technology adaptation is showing the vision where that organization could reach if they use technologies. That, in that case, even if some people are resistant, to use technologies, that vision prompt them, compel them to adopt, somehow embrace the change in that organization. And I agree with you also, the power of culture. I mean, sometimes the leader may show them vision, how technology is powerful, what kind of individual and organizational benefits they may gain from that. But if the culture is the opposite, if the culture discourages innovation, discourages risk taking, and so on, it's over, because people cannot really be safe. They don't feel safe to try new technologies and collaborate and so on and so forth.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I enjoyed our discussion. Thank you very much for coming. It was wonderful. I appreciate you and I admire you. Thank you, sir.
I enjoyed being here, and thanks so much for having me.
Thank you very much. Dear our viewers, today we talked about why we need to use and adopt technologies to drive success in business, success in your role in your community, and also for your professional success. And we talked about what kind of technologies are very important to us, how to develop that mentality and attitude in terms of adopting technology. It is not just cool to have technology, it's a must to have. We talked about that, and also Eddie suggested some tips, some recommendations for you to adopt and use them so that you may succeed in your business, in your profession, and in your endeavor to serve your community. Thank you very much for watching.